If y'all can y'all share this live out? I greatly appreciate it. Hey, AZ King, Kim, we back. Hey, such a fucking lady. Hey, Mimi. Hey, sis. Hey, Texas 713. Hey, legit money. Yeah, we definitely back. The devil is a liar. They just don't want my good sister share her, her testimony. Everybody, we trying to bring awareness to domestic violence. I feel like somebody trying to put a wrench in our plans, but we got it working. As I was stating before, we had, a discussion about, just doing an interview with Kim to introduce her to the YouTube streets. Y'all probably already seen her in the, in different chats and whatnot. She doesn't have a YouTube page, but, she frequent the YouTube streets. And we will eventually be doing content together. So I wanted to interview her to introduce her to y'all, even though y'all see her anyway. But she also wanted to, talk about her domestic violence situation, which I wasn't sure because in this sector, they troll you over, things like that. You come on here and you share your personal experiences going through domestic violence and stuff like that. They will troll you, but she said, you can't troll someone over something they already didn't heal from. So we definitely gonna talk about it today, and we will be taking questions at the end of the interview. If you have any questions for Miss Kim, so she's backstage. So I'm going to invite my guest to the panel. Kim,
Hey everybody. Thank y'all for
hey.
your patience.
Right, was having some technical difficulties. So how you feeling, Kim?
I'm feeling good. I'm actually excited to share my story. Like you said, it's my truth. I stand in it. I've done my work to heal from it and moving forward from there.
Okay, say less. Okay, can you introduce us? Like who is Kim? Tell us more about you, Kim.
So Kim is a medical junkie. I'm in the medical field, of course. I am a mother of two. I have twins, girl and boy twins. I'm a homebody. I love the YouTube streets. As you guys know, y'all see me in everybody's chat. I'm friendly. As you can give, but just don't push me. But for the most part, I'm a simple person. I'm enjoying life to the fullest now that I've gone through my healing, and just excited to see what is to come for me.
Okay. Okay, so Kim, do you have any other siblings?
I do. So I have an older brother, a younger sister, and then I also have a younger brother that is adopted.
Oh, okay. So where do you reside?
I am in Dallas, Texas.
Okay,
As you
okay.
guys know, I float around the Mo3 sector, so I say that's where my home is.
Born and raised?
Born and raised, been here my whole life.
All right. Okay. Do you have any children?
I do. I have 14-year-old girl and boy twins. I got my girl and boy out in one shot. I call them my one and done.
All right. Okay. So tell us more about you. How was it growing up? Describe your adolescence.
So growing up, I had strict parents. My parents definitely sheltered us. They kept us busy to keep us out of these streets. But what comes with being sheltered is you lack life experiences. So I feel like a lot of the things that I didn't experience in my childhood and being sheltered kind of played a huge role in what led me into my domestic violence situation.
Okay. So what about sports? Were you active?
I was extremely active. So I played every sport that you can imagine. I played volleyball, basketball, softball. That was my main thing. That's actually what I got my college scholarship in. Pretty much whatever you could think of, I was doing it. They definitely kept us active. I was a cheerleader as well, did dance, all of that good stuff.
Okay. So what about your adulthood before you encounter your abuser?
So really, I didn't have much of an adulthood. I met him at a young age, 21. I met him. So That was straight out of college. I actually met him in school, so I was still super naive. I was just stepping into adulthood, had just moved out on my own, so I was really clueless about the world and what was in the world out here. So he met me in my naive days, super young.
Okay, can you describe to us like the day that you met him? How did you guys meet?
So we met in school. I was the super quiet girl that was always in her books, the cute one nobody ever talked to, and they get you with their smile. So I saw this dude with this smile, and I kind of just stayed back in the cut, mind my own business. And I remember going home and telling my sisters, "This dude at school, and I'm gonna get him." So the next day I went to school. I made sure I had my makeup on, my hair was done, I was cute, and sure enough, I grabbed his attention, and it was, I say, downhill from there.
Okay, so everything was fine in the beginning. So you are you able to describe any of like the characteristics of the abuser?
Absolutely. He was a gentleman, like something I had never experienced coming from, dealing with little boys to what I thought was a man. He was respectful at first, opening doors. He wined and dined me, especially something that a 21-year-old girl, is not used to seeing. He was everything that I thought a man could be. I mean, I had no complaints at all initially.
In your words, how would you describe domestic violence and what does it mean to you?
Domestic violence is, to me, what it means to me is when somebody abuses you in a way, and it's not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental. One thing that I've learned about domestic abuse is your abusers are professionals. So to me, it's attacking someone, and I would say like getting a hold of their self-esteem and their self-worth and just ripping them from that, making them lose themselves.
Right, got you. Okay. So from your standpoint, did your abuser show any warning signs prior to the actual domestic violence taking place?
Not initially. Now that I've gone through my healing and have a better understanding of what that looks like, I know now that some of the things I saw early on was red flags, but it took me actually going through my healing and learning what domestic violence was and learning the different aspects of what it was for me to realize that they were red flags. At the time, it wasn't because I couldn't recognize it or identify it correctly.
Okay. Was there any triggers? What things would potentially set him off?
Pretty much his triggers were anytime I did not give him full control of me. So if he told me to do something, or if there's something that he didn't like that I was doing, um, if I stood up in my womanhood or try to put my foot down, that was a huge trigger. It's like he lost that control of me and he wasn't having that. So it's like that's what would trigger him. So it's like he had to get his spot back. He had to let me know that, he was in complete control.
Right. So he had power over you.
Right. Right. And
Okay.
people don't understand about abusers. People focus so much on the victim, the woman, um, that they don't know that these abusers, they know what they're doing, and more than likely you're not the first and you won't be the last. So what I've learned in my healing is they go after your mind and your heart first. They're not going to get physical until they know for sure they have your mind and your heart. Once they get control of that, then comes the physical. So that's where the whining and dining came from. That's where, making me feel comfortable, all that came from. He had to get that mind and that heart first, and that's what led to the physical.
Right. So did you feel like the domestic violence situation affect you more mentally or physically, or would you say equally?
I would say equally, but if I had to choose, I would say mentally first, because when you go through the mental abuse, um, it takes you a while to bounce back from that. Like when you lose yourself and you lose your self confidence, it's a lot harder for you to get that back than to heal a wound, or for a black eye to go away, or for a scratch or anything like that. It takes you a lot. You have to go through a lot of digging within yourself and healing and therapy to get back to where that mental doesn't, on that emotional, you have complete control of it. So if I had to choose, I would say mental is worse.
Okay. So during the duration of the abuse, did you lack self confidence?
um I did, and if one thing about me growing up that everybody knew was I was super confident. Like I stood in everything, I was good in everything that I did, confidence was not something that I lacked. So when I met my abuser and went through all of that and lost that self confidence, when I looked at myself, I saw a completely different person. And that's kind of what was the trick, what was the indicator to everybody else that something was going on, even when I tried to hide it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna ask. That was gonna be the next question. So, were you isolated from friends and family?
Yes, so that was the first thing that he did before the physical started. Because I guess the isolation is keeping me away from everything. So when it led to that point, I was already isolated from everybody. Like it wasn't easy. He knew it wasn't going to be easy for me to reach out and tell people my story because everybody just thought, oh, well, she's off happy in her relationship. That's why we don't hear from her. So yes, it was definitely a lot of isolation. The first time that we moved together, he moved me to a city that was almost 30 minutes away from my family. So it wasn't easy for me to just jump in my car, and go to my mama and daddy house. So yes, I was definitely isolated.
So he reduced the people in place that you can go to for support.
Absolutely. That was like one of the triggers. So if I wanted to go out with my friends, it would be okay. Your stuff gonna be on the porch if you go out, or different things like that. So of course, I would just alienate myself from my friends, and my friends would get upset with me and be like, "What's going on with you?" And I was so ashamed to tell them that I would just be like, I'm in a relationship now. So then they would get upset with me. They start reaching out to me. They start checking on me because they figured, okay, well, she just over there with her dude in a relationship. So it was kind of both ways.
Right. Okay. Has he ever made commitments to change?
Every time we had an incident, it was always commitments to change, even up until the last time when I said enough is enough.
Right. So even after like an incident occurred, and he got physical with you, did he like feel guilty or did he show any empathy?
Yeah, I don't think he felt guilty. I think the empathy was a facade, to try to appease me, to make me feel better about the situation, so that he could will me back in. I mean, I remember one of the last times I actually separated from him for 2 years. I was strong enough to separate for 2 years, and I just remember going to one of my kids' sporting events and showing up, and people were recording me. He had all these balloons and all of this stuff. That was something I had never experienced from him, and it was kind of like, whoa. And it was, I'm ready. I will never do it again. This, and I'd be damned if it wasn't 3 months later it happened again.
Right. Okay. So it was kind of like a Prince Charming thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So that was going to be my next question. I know you said that he moved you 30 minutes away, so you kind of hid it from family and friends. So next question about you masking it, the abuse, like. But when you finally spoke out, who did you speak about it to? Like, who
Uh-uh.
did you confide in?
I spoke about it to my best friend first, and he was a male. So I went to him because I was at this point kind of recognizing that something's not right here, because like I said, this was my first serious relationship. This is what I thought a man was supposed to be, and being sheltered, I wasn't out there to know that this was unhealthy. So I went to him, and he was like, "No, that's not cool." And then once he got upset, and I realized, oh crap, I did something wrong again. I tried to cover up things, make it seem like it wasn't what it was. And then from that point on, I was afraid to go to anybody else because then that made me realize this ain't, this is not normal. And I knew that, my family definitely wasn't going to be okay with it.
Right. Okay. So your best friend, his reaction, he didn't judge you, you know, based on the situation. He kind of just was telling that it wasn't right and you need to get away, or what
Yeah.
was his reactions?
Yeah, so my best friend actually is my first love. He's like my first everything, but that was high school. So, we broke up early in high school, but we just remained best friends all the way through. So, we've always had that relationship to where I know everything about him. He knows everything about me. There's no judgment there. He's more like my brother.
Okay. So did you feel trapped because you guys have children together?
Um, I would say once my kids got old enough to understand the mommy and daddy aspect, we were actually together 5 years before I even had my kids. So I can say that once I had my kids, the abuse got better. Not that it went away. It got better. He never abused me while I was pregnant, which showed me that he has some type of sense of control. That's another thing that kind of opened my eyes. The The emotional and the verbal abuse never stopped while I was pregnant, but the physical did stop. But it was definitely worse the first year. So once my kids got older and understood that mommy and daddy dynamic, when you coming out the womb and you see this on a consistent basis, you also think that this is normal. So when I tried to leave, my kids would be like, I want my daddy, because, they didn't know that that wasn't how everybody's house was. They just thought that was us. So, I would have to go through, them wanting their parents back and feeling guilty and all of that. And I would always go back just for the sake of what I thought was for my kids.
Right. Right. What was the duration? How long were you in a domestic violence situation?
We were together for 15 years. The domestic violence started within year two. So I would say, what, 13 years of it?
Okay. So what was the driving force, the factor or the last straw that gave you the courage to walk away?
Well, separating from him that 2 years and him not having access to me, it really allowed me. I hadn't gone through my healing yet. I hadn't started therapy, but it gave me a sense of independence. So I was on my own. I was building, my own, and it felt good to not have to worry about, oh my God, here in the garage coming up, and oh my God, he's here. Do I have everything done? Like I got that sense of freedom. So even when I got weak enough to take him back, I had some strength in me to say, okay, look, I have come this far. Even though I hadn't gone through my healing, I've come this far. I'm comfortable here. So it's not going to be any more of that. Another thing that I did, which is absolutely sad, was, I made him feel like I had a firearm over that 2 years. And I'd always told him, like, hey, you do it again, then this is what's going to happen. So that kind of put that little bit of fear in him, for him to think, okay, well, I got to think twice now about doing it, because I don't have that full power of her. So that was kind of it. I tried to put the fear in him that I'm not putting up with this anymore.
So you pretty much feel like you putting the fear in him, you feel like you were, it worked.
Yeah, and then showing him that sense of independence, because like I said at the beginning, one thing that they try to do is they get full control of you, your mental, your heart, all of that. And what I did was showed him, I'm good without you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I picked up the pieces. I'm a single mother of these kids, taking care of them on my own, doing a damn good job at it, extremely successful. I got my house, I got this. So it kind of showed him he didn't have that full power over me, and that I was very well capable of going out, even though everything that he had done to me, all the physical, I'm still capable of going out here and doing the damn thing by myself. I don't need you.
Right. Okay. I know each person domestic violence situation can be different. However, in your opinion, can you tell me what's best? You're actually in the middle of a domestic occurrence. Would you recommend fighting back physically, attempting to de-escalate the situation verbally, or focus on protecting yourself, like from any blows, like curling up to protect like your sensitive areas like your head and face?
The main thing to do is to try to get out. Like, leave. You want to try to go where people can be heard. So if you're inside of a home, you're inside of a building, get closest to the front door, get closest to a window to where you can scream and they can hear you, or try to at least get outside to where people can hear you. But you're gonna always want to protect yourself. One thing that, I mean, you hear that's common now is, especially women, it's really important for us to, these days with the laws change, get you a firearm, but do whatever you can to, flight, try to get away, try to get to somewhere where people can hear you, so that if you're incapable of calling for help, they'll call for help for you.
Right. So what some of the resources are available for victims, and did you utilize any of the resources to help you cope?
I most definitely did. One thing that people don't understand about therapy, just off the top, they say go to therapy. You have to understand the differences in therapy, because when I first started going to therapy, it was regular therapy, but it wasn't working. Like, I was just like, I'm not feeling better about it. No matter how much I go, no matter how much, I do, I just wasn't feeling better about it. And the last incident to where we had our domestic violence, he was arrested, and one of the things that they gave me was this pamphlet of, like, resources in my area where you can get traumatic therapy and different things like that. And I was, curious about it. So it's through like women's shelters. You can go to any woman's shelter. You don't have to be homeless. It's for, domestic violence. It's for any women that's going through battering or anything like that. reach out to them. They have specific therapy for you. I got diagnosed with PTSD. And then I started a traumatic therapy, not just your average therapy. It's a therapy that helps you specifically cope with PTSD and having trauma. So if you've ever gone through that and you feel like you're in therapy or in regular therapy and it's not helping, that's because that's not the therapy that you need. So if you have, like I said, homeless shelters, anything like that, it's not just for homeless people. There's also a program through the OAG that's like, it's called Crime Victims Compensation. If you feel like you're stuck and you can't get out or you don't have the money to relocate or anything like that, they will help you. They will pay for you to fully relocate. They will help you find somewhere to go. They will also pay for, therapy for you. And this is, through the OAG, so it's federal. It's not just specifically for Texas. So that's one of the main things that I would tell people to utilize, even if it's just getting out. You can, there's a way.
Right, right. So I know you probably heard this a lot. Have you ever heard someone say, "Well, just," which I feel like is selfish because it's easier said than done, especially if you're not, in the situation. Why don't you just leave? Like, how did that make you feel?
At first, I used to get really frustrated. I did. I used to get really frustrated because I couldn't answer that question myself, honestly. It really took me going through my healing, going through the therapy, and understanding what it was that made me stay. And like I said from the beginning, these abusers, they know what they're doing and they attack your heart and your mind first. And remember when I said that's the hardest thing to get back. So people can think, okay, you're strong, and it doesn't make them weak. It makes no woman weak. You just have to understand, and anybody can lose themselves for any particular reason. It doesn't necessarily have to be for domestic violence. But if you've ever lost yourself in life, imagine how hard it was for you to get back to that. So, yeah, I mean, now I know. Now I know, but yeah, it would frustrate me when people would say that it's not as easy as people think.
Right. It frustrates me too because they say, why doesn't the victim just leave? The better question is, why does the abuser choose to abuse?
Absolutely.
I feel like that should be the question. So,
I agree, and that's why I say, people always look at the victims. People always want to learn more about the victims. They need to be looking at these abusers because they are the root of it all. You know what I'm saying? Because I can heal today, but that don't mean that he's not gonna abuse the next lady tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So they're the common denominator. They are who everybody really truly needs to be focused on. Yes, we go through our healing and get help, but they also need help. They also need help. So I just challenge everybody, when you see a domestic violence victim or survivor, focus less on them and focus more on the abuser.
right. Okay. Some people say that you can heal for wounds, but the mental aspect can weigh on your mind for a longer duration. So, do you feel like the with the therapy and everything was successful?
Absolutely. That's actually the first thing that they teach you with going through therapy for PTSD. It's not to make you forget. It's like you have a scar, you have a wound, and we're healing that wound and we're helping you live with that scar because it's not something that's going to ever go away. Like when you have a traumatic experience, it's going to always be with you forever. You're going to see this thing and it's going to make you think about that. But it's about learning to cope with that rather than trying to forget about it or act like it never happened. That's why I'm able to sit here today and tell my story, because I know I have this scar and I want to tell people about my scar, not for people to feel sorry for me, but to help somebody else out there to know, wear your scars proudly. You know what I'm saying? You survived, you made it. And if you can stand strong today and tell your story, that alone is showing your growth and your healing.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, now that you had time to heal, you've conquered and you're stronger. Can you think of one thing you would have done differently, or an action that you would have taken much sooner?
Um, I mean that the answer to that is always going to be leave, because if I would have left early, or if I would have recognized early that it was a problem and got help, then it wouldn't have escalated to the point that it did, or I wouldn't have had to go through so much. So I would say leaving would have been the thing right off the bat. Trying to recognize the red flags, earlier than I did. I don't fault my parents for sheltering us, but parents that shelter your kids, let me tell you something. is it's important for them to learn things as children, like protect them from as much as you can, but sheltering them, it could be a problem for them when it's time to adult and it's time to face life lessons. So I don't fault my parents for it, but I just feel like I would have had more life experiences. I would have been able to identify those red flags a lot earlier.
Right. Okay. So upon relieving yourself from domestic violence situation, have you come across your abuser?
I have to. We share children. I have to. We share children. So yes, often. Not so much now, but often.
How do that make you feel?
At first it was extremely uncomfortable. I had things set up to where I didn't really have to see him much. But now it doesn't bother me. I actually stand strong and I'm proud to see him because now it's not more so I'm afraid to see him. Now it's like, I want you to see me. You thought you broke me. You thought I wasn't going to be anything without you. So look at the woman I am now. And I can look you in your face and tell you, I won. You lost. So I don't have a problem with seeing that man. I prefer to see that man any opportunity that I can so he can see how successful and how I've grown and my healing. I love to rub that in his face.
Okay. So like, and this was just after your healing, the healing process. So before then, like to come in contact with him, were you nervous? Were you afraid? Did you get flashbacks?
Extremely. Yes, I would always get nervous. I would shake, like I couldn't look at him, just looking at him, it would, make me feel scared. I would get anxiety. It just wasn't a good thing. It wasn't. I did not like the way it made me feel. And as much as I would try to hide it, I would still feel it inside.
Okay. Has the abuse hinder you from dating again?
It did initially. One thing that I could say is it took me going through a couple of situations because I promised anything that reminded me of that man. I mean, you could look at me and reminded me of him, and I was gone. Like I could tell you he a Leo, so I'd be like, oh hell no, you a Leo? I can't do it. Your birthday could be in July. Oh no, I can't do it. Like anything that reminded me of him, um, I had to step back. I had to step back. So I had to understand everybody's not him. People have flaws, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's everybody's flaws. But then also that showed me I hadn't completely healed yet. So if I had completely healed from the situation, no matter if anybody reminded me of him or not, I would have been able to wear that scar proudly and deal with it.
Sure. Okay. And since taking a stand and moving forward, give us a sense of freedom that you have in your everyday life. What advice would you give women today that's watching and don't have the courage to walk away?
Um, that's a good question. Take your time. Um, is very important. If you feel like you can't walk away, find an escape. Like if you feel like something is going to trigger him or you feel it coming on, get away, get away until you can and try to get help. You can go through therapy to help you get away when you're not ready to leave. Like there's hotlines that you can call that you can just talk to somebody. If you don't feel comfortable with going to a friend or going to somebody, look at the hotline in your area. They will talk to you and talk you through whatever. And until you're ready to leave. But I want everybody to know that you are strong enough to walk away. You deserve much better. And a lot of people feel like, oh my God, I'll have to start over and I'll be by myself. You will be surprised how much better that feels than going through what you're going through.
Okay. Well, which leads us back to there are many forms of abuse. So during the duration of the abuse, did he criticize your appearance and make you like feel well? Did he try to put you down, belittle you?
Yes, he did. And then when I went through some of my healing, I learned that I was being abused in ways that I didn't even know. So if you guys have saw me, I kind of have the big boobs, the big butt, all of that. I was like his little sex doll. So whatever he said, I had to do. And if it wasn't that, I'm gonna go find somebody else to do it. Or if you don't, then this and this and this. So I never knew that that was a form of abuse as well. Um, I knew I wasn't ugly, but he made me feel ugly because what would that create? Okay, I know I'm a beautiful woman. I know I could have went outside and got any other man if I wanted to, but he made me feel so ugly and made me feel so unwanted that I didn't have the confidence to do that. Like that's why he would do it. I don't think he meant it. I don't think he meant it, but that was just another way of getting that control of me to make me feel like nobody else would want me and that I wasn't capable of getting anybody else but him.
Right. Okay. Completely understand that. And finally, so where's Kim at now, this present time in life?
So Kim is happy. Kim is living life. I continue to flourish within my career. I'm a single mother. Thanks to me being brave and taking the appropriate steps, he can't have any contact with me and my kids. I'm taking care of my kids. My kids have everything that they want and need, plus more. Um, we're just flourishing from here. I went from being a nurse to in operations, so now I'm managing doctors' offices, working my way up that chain in my company. Um, that's pretty much it. Just enjoying life out here, living pretty much things that I wasn't doing before. I try to focus on experiencing things now that I feel like I missed in those 13 years that I was with him. So any opportunity that I can get to do something, I'm doing it. Like I'm living.
It's good. It's kind of like being in jail. You
Absolutely.
also, like you finally free. So
Yep.
has the abuser ever made you feel like you were responsible for the abuse?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's always their first response is if you wouldn't have done this, then I wouldn't have done that. Like you don't know how many times I have heard that. If I don't like it when you make me do this. I don't like it when I have to do this because you did that. Like that's like one of their main things that they say. They want to put everything back on you to make you feel like you did something wrong because once they get that mental and I feel like, damn, I did that wrong, you're gonna think twice about doing that. And that's giving them that control. So it's not so much so that, but it's like if you don't do it, then you don't have to worry about me doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, if you don't want me to do it, then don't do that, which is a sense of control. This is all control.
Okay. So I know we had spoke on a little bit about, I'm pretty sure there's women out there today that don't have the courage to walk away. I know can you give them a little advice if they're out there, if they're watching now?
You can do it. Like I know it might be hard now, but dig within yourself and figure out what it is that you love about yourself and focus on that. Another thing that I did, and I have to say, is the reason why is I focused on my career. I threw everything into work. That gave me an excuse to not be at home. Find something, even if it is work. Find something to throw yourself into, and you will be surprised how easy it makes you want different. You just have to figure out what you want for your life. Think about where you see yourself in 5 years. If you see yourself as being an abuse victim, that's where you're going to be. But if you see yourself being free and in a healthy relationship, whatever it is, do what you need to do to get there, and don't let that person hold you back. It's all about control. Take your control back. That's where it starts. Take your control back. Focus on you, and then once you take your control back and you start focusing on you, all that other stuff don't matter, and it's a lot easier for you to, get out.
All right. She just said a mouthful. So now we'll be taking questions. If you have any questions, you can, definitely just type your question in the chat, or do you care if they hit the panel as long as they're respectful?
Yeah, as long as they're respectful, I don't mind if you hit the panel. You can ask me whatever you want to ask me.
So I'm gonna drop the link just in case anybody want to come up. They have any questions. So please be respectful. If you don't want to hit the panel, you can type your question in the chat. Just keep it respectful, everyone. Salute everybody for coming in and
Yeah,
supporting.
thank you for everybody that's listening and open to hearing my story.
Definitely big up to you. For you to having the courage to come forward to even to share your story. Like
Yeah,
you got women that's dealing with domestic violence today, and they don't know how to walk away. They don't know what to do. Maybe they can be watching in the bushes. Maybe you can give them the courage to do it.
Absolutely. And I'm on IG too. Anyway, that you want to reach out to me, they can drop my IG in the chat. I don't have a problem answering anybody's questions. You know, with what I do now, I get the pleasure of meeting different people, and I always feel like the Lord puts me in positions to where I can be that person and tell my story. You know, most recently I had a patient come in, same thing. You know, I was able to counsel her through and give her the resources that I experienced, and it made me feel like so good to be able to help somebody, or at least show somebody that I was there where you were not too long ago, and now I'm here, and that gives them hope. You know what I'm saying? Even if I could just give somebody hope, then
Right.
that's enough for me.
Okay, Mimi has a question. Would you say that forgiving your abuser is at a part of the healing process and contributes to a person moving forward?
Absolutely, absolutely. Because if you don't forgive them, then you're still giving them control and power. By forgiving them, you are releasing them completely. You are letting go of all of that. You are still saying, you know what, I accept it, I forgive you, but you no longer have that control over me. So forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness is huge. Forgiving yourself is also huge, because one of the things that I had to learn within my healing and going through the process that I struggled with was I had to also take accountability. You know, I had to take accountability for why when he hit me the first time I didn't leave. When he hit me the second time I didn't leave. Like once you're able to take accountability for yourself and say, I know my part that I played in it, you're on your way to healing as well.
Hmm, that's good. Accountability definitely plays a big part.
It plays a big part in everything, and that's why going through this, I tell my kids, like, that's the first thing that we gonna focus on, is taking accountability. Even if it's something small, you did that, how are you accountable for that? Because then I'm giving them the tools that I didn't get as a kid from being sheltered, so that they know and can move differently, and not, because they experience it. You have to understand, from the jump, I said, from the womb to now, they saw this, so they thought this was normal. They thought, so now we're all healing. And I love my kids. Me and my kids are extremely close, but we have a trauma bonding relationship, and that's not something that I wish on anybody. We all have had to go through, our healing based on what they saw and them knowing, because it affects your kids too. Even if you don't think, they might not be the ones that are receiving the abuse, but seeing it, you're affecting your kids too. Because I mean, now I'm left with trying to, heal them from what they seen, so they don't think that that's normal. I have a son, so he don't think the way his dad is how he needs to be to a woman, or my daughter to think that how her dad is, that's how a man is supposed to treat her. So yeah, we're all healing. We're all going through the process as well.
Right. Hey, why did that fail? Anybody have any more questions? You could drop them down in the chat.
Anything y'all want to know about me, it don't even necessarily have to be about domestic violence. Anything.
I want to get to know Kim. Was it hard to try to break things down to your children while also trying to shelter them and still help them keep love in their hearts for their father? It's a good question, Mimi.
That's a good question, Mimi. Yes, but one thing that I've learned, not only from my kids but also from my brother that is adopted, is you're gonna always have that love for your parent. So now, dealing with what we're dealing with, I can, be transparent. There's a whole protective order against him. They still miss their dad. Because they haven't fully processed that it wasn't healthy. They miss their dad. They love their dad. I don't expect anything less. So where we've come in our healing is they respect how I feel about them, and I respect how they feel about him, and we keep those separate, and we support each other through it.
Hmm, good. Definitely, that's good. So y'all pretty much got it all figured out, and
It took a lot. It is definitely not easy. It definitely takes a lot of work, but you can do it. Like, you can do it hands down. Now I'm looking at myself and I'm like, girl, what the like, you really sat there and put up with that? Like, the person you are today, you going through your healing, the strong woman that you are here today, you allowed that. So now it's like, when we were talking about when I see him, I'm like, bro, I wish you would. Like, we, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm praying I'd be like, oh, I wish you would.
Right.
it took
Right.
it took a lot for me to get there. It took a lot for me to get there, but you can do it. Anybody can do it.
So how do you feel? Because I know we spoke on this before. He's in a different, situationship. Like, how do you feel? Just just knowing what you went through and see that the person he's with now could potentially go through the same thing, or probably is going through the same thing as you did in the past.
Um, all I can do is pray for her. One thing that I can say is the little interaction that she had with my children. My children loved her. It's to the point now where there isn't any, but I think she is well aware of the full situation, who he is. Even if he's not doing that to her yet, she knows his history. So at this point, the ball is in her court. If she will stay with him and allow that, that's on her. But my main focus is me and my children, and all I can do is pray that she's strong enough to. If he ever tries it, she's stronger than I was and walks away immediately.
Okay. So I know you had mentioned a little earlier that he stopped the abuse for a duration of time. I think you said while you were pregnant,
While I was pregnant, yes, the physical abuse stopped.
physical, but he still was the emotional and
um I had a very difficult pregnancy having twins. Like before I got pregnant with my twins, I'm only 5'3", so I'm super small. I may have weighed a good 120. So if you can imagine carrying twins, that's a lot on my little body. So I went into labor early, and I was in the hospital for the last month of my pregnancy. And we dealt with infidelity as well. That's another form of abuse that women don't understand. Infidelity is abuse. We dealt with infidelity, and he would just, when I was in the hospital, he would snap and emotionally abuse me to get away from the hospital to go and cheat on me. So it was like one instance that I woke up out of my hospital bed. He was leaving my room, so I called him. I was like, where are you going? And he was like, I gotta leave. Like, I was literally standing over you, and I could have strangled you because I'm having to sleep on this hospital cot. Like,
right.
excuse me, like, oh, okay, so I got pregnant and by myself. So you think I'm happy to be here? So I mean, the emotional and the verbal, it never stopped. The physical stopped while I was pregnant.
Okay. Right. I'm sure your mental is so strong now, like to run up on me if you want to. Right.
Oh yeah, and now I got my little pew pew, so I'm laying for him. I'm laying for him. So I mean, hey, he got options now, and I don't think he want to do that. But I think he sees me now. He sees me standing in my truth, and he sees me standing in my strength. I don't think he would try it. Like, I definitely don't think he would try it. He knows I'm a different person now.
Right. And I know he probably hate that. He probably just looking like, fuck.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah.
probably mad. So how
Yeah.
did your mom feel about the situation when she first found out, or when you confided her about it?
So if you know moms, like my mom is one of the strongest people you will meet. The women in my family are the strong ones. So I had a strong grandma. I had a strong mom. My mom always raised us that you don't need a man. Like, it's okay to have a man and you want a man, you want a partner, but you never put yourself in a predicament to need a man. So that's why that was the last person that I went to when I was going through it. So now that she has found out the full extent of it, she struggles. And I feel bad because, she looks at me like, what was wrong with you? Like, why didn't you come and tell me? Why didn't you come and talk to me? And what did I do wrong, to make you feel like that was okay, And it hurt me to have to tell her I don't blame you. Like, I enjoyed my childhood and all of that, but the sheltering and keeping me away from life and its experiences, mom, like I didn't know what to expect. Granted, I never saw any type of abuse or anything in my parents, but I never saw it, period. I mean, you see it on the TV, you see it on the movie, and it's always somebody losing their life or somebody getting put in the hospital. So when I was going through it, I'm thinking, oh, this ain't nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't what I'm seeing on TV. I'm not getting put in the hospital, things like that. Now, he did break my hand at one point, but I just didn't know. I felt like, this man loved me. That's why he was doing it. So she struggles with it. Um, my dad definitely struggles with it, because he feels like he wasn't, um, he wasn't the example for me to see that I want a man like my dad. So I feel bad because that definitely was not the case. You know, my dad was like the best man that, you know, and he's the father figure for my kids right now. So I do that's a part of the healing that I haven't mastered yet is, you know, what it's doing to my family, my parents, and how and they're coping with it.
So what was the duration that like they found out? Like was it like how long were you in the abusive relationship before you finally spoke to your parents? I know you said you confided in your best friend, but what about your parents?
My parents knew a little bit, but they didn't know the extent of the physical. Like even when he broke my hand, I was really scared at that time, so I kind of told them, you know, this is, you know, he did it or whatever. And they knew because, you know, I was trying in that instance when he broke my hand, I was trying to call 911 and he jerked the phone away from me and threw it, but I had already been able to dial 911, so the operator heard it. So of course the police came. So they knew about that, but then I came back and was like, well, you know, I failed. You know, like I covered it up. I was always
Right, making excuses
been,
for them.
you know, making excuses of it. So now that I've walked away and I'm healing and I'm living in my truth, they know everything. And they were just like, wow, you know, we didn't see it. Like they didn't see it. They had no clue. So I hid it very well.
Hmm. Okay.
I hid it
So
very
did that kind of change like you and your parents' relationship?
um no, because we've always been close. Like my
Okay.
family has a, you know, but now it's more so them dealing with what they feel like they did wrong
Right.
for me to, you know, think that that was okay. So, you know, I tell them all the time when we talk about it, you know, or something will come up. And now that I'm so comfortable talking about it, I'll mention an instance. And then I look at my mom and she looking at me and I'm like, oh gosh, she didn't know that. You know, so it's just like, you know, different things like that. And she'd be like, what happened? Like, why didn't you tell me? So we still go through it. Like, there's still a lot that they don't know. I mean, if you can imagine 13 years of domestic violence, I can sit and talk to y'all about it all day, but I'm still not going to remember certain instances until things remind me of it.
Right. Right. So do your parents be on you now? Like they want to know who you dating? Like how do you feel about introducing them to someone new?
I'm comfortable with it because one thing that I can say is my parents, and now I see that my parents recognize there was something wrong with him right off the bat. Like they never liked him. They never liked him. Like it got to the point where my mom was like, "Don't bring that boy to my house." But
Right.
my excuse to retreat, so it was like, okay, well if he ain't coming, I ain't coming, you know, type thing. So they knew it was him, so they don't really have a problem with it now. They're more so happy, you know, when they see me, you know, want to date somebody or want to talk to somebody because knowing everything that I've gone through, the 13 years I've gone through, they thought that I was going to be afraid, you know, to try again or to move on and do different things like that. So they don't give me issues with people that I date or anything like that. They actually get excited. My daddy be trying to hook me up with people.
Really? Aw.
So yeah, they're okay. They're okay with it. It's just, you know, dealing with everything that I've went through and knowing that they daughter got abused for 13 years and they didn't see it. Because I mean, if you think as a parent, you know, you think you know your kids like the back of your hand, and that's literally how we were as kids. I used to think that my mom had secret powers because she would know everything. So this is the one time that she can say, "I knew nothing. I knew nothing." It's like she hid it from me. So
Right. Right. So I know you spoke on, your childhood and being sheltered and how it caused you to be naive to certain situations. How are you dealing with like with your? Because I know you have teenagers, right?
uh huh. Um, I don't shelter my kids. Um, and sometimes it irritates my parents because we keep it a G. Like, you know, now understand there's a difference between not sheltering them. Like, we talk about real life instances. So when stuff's going on in the world, we talk about it. You know, some of the things that people will hide from their kids. Now, I still don't let them be out here, you know, running around in these streets. I still have expectations for my children because I want them to be successful. But we weren't even allowed to listen to certain music. We weren't allowed to watch certain things on TV. You know, we weren't allowed to go hang out with our friends. Like we literally, they kept us so busy that we didn't have time to do it. So it wasn't like we knew that they were sheltering us. It was like they kept us busy so we didn't have time to do these things. So I try to allow my kids, that sense of freedom where they have time to spend with their friends, even if I'm right there. I give them the opportunity to experience things in life, and then we talk about the difficult things that's going on. We talk about my healing. Like, it's extremely uncomfortable for me to tell them about some of the instances that they didn't see, but it's important for them to know, especially with how much they love their dad, so they don't go out, and my son don't do the same thing, and my daughter don't go out thinking that their dad is the type of man that they want to get. Like, we have a good open relationship, not no friendship, because they got me messed up. They know I knock the piss out of
Right.
them. They know I don't play. Like, I put that fear in their heart that they know that I don't play. But it's very, very important that we talk about things. Like, for instance, what happened to this young man, with how he was protecting his mom, that triggered me a lot. Like, I'm so glad that I've gone through my healing, but I've really been struggling with that because it made me think that if I was still in that situation today, having a 14-year-old myself, what if his dad went to attack me and he killed his dad? Like, so we
Right.
talk about these situations, and how that could have been us, in a different way, and how that would have made you feel, and different things like that, to make sure that they don't have anything going on in their heads that I need to get them help for. But they too are also in therapy for PTSD. So we all are doing the work, because that's extremely important.
Okay. So how's therapy been working out for the twins?
It's been great. Like, we have these scars, we wearing our scars, and we wearing them proudly. They don't have issues with men. Like, I was really afraid that they would, like, my daughter would have issues with trusting men and different things like that. They're personable. They know how to build relationships with people. They have friendships and all of that. So their therapy is going well. I would say it probably going a lot better than mine. But yeah, went rather, but it's not taking them as long as it took me.
Okay. So that's definitely great to hear. So if you guys have any more questions, you could definitely either drop them in the chat, or you're more than welcome to hit the link. Just be respectful. So I definitely appreciate you, for having the courage to come up here and share your story. This
No.
could be difficult for someone to do.
Yeah, I would say maybe like 2 years ago, it probably would have been extremely difficult for me to do. But I did the work, and any like I said, any way that I can encourage anybody or give anybody hope or anything like that, then that's what I'm here for. Because people see domestic violence, and one thing that I do say all the time, I'm not no victim. Don't call me no victim. I'm a survivor. There's a big difference. Um, so I don't like to be called a victim. I wear it, but I'm a survivor. I'm not nobody victim.
That's right. Because you have some people that's women that was in a domestic, violence relationship, and they weren't able to walk away. They didn't make it out, alive. So
Absolutely, and I'm forever grateful that it never got to that extent. But who's to say that if I didn't stay there, it didn't? It wouldn't, or it wouldn't have led to other things. So I hope that people know that you don't deserve that. I don't care what they have told you. I don't care what they have made you feel. You do not deserve that. Dig deep within yourself and find yourself again, and learn to love yourself first. Because that's the start. You're gonna have to learn to love yourself again. And once you do that, you headed in the right direction. You can do it. Like, walk away. It's well worth it. It might not be easy off top, but then that's just something that that's gonna be a part of your testimony in the end, to say I did this, what, by myself. Like, I did this. It was me. So just have the courage to do that.
yeah. So do we have any last questions, you guys? From Miss Kim here. Definitely a great live.
Well, I thank everybody for hearing, getting to know me. I know y'all see me in these chats, and people wonder who I am and where I came from. So I'm glad I was able to tell my story. I hope people feel more comfortable with me and feel like they know me a little bit better. You see me in the chats, speak to me. I'm a regular around here. I'm a normal person like y'all are. So yeah, and I'm here. Gonna be here. So
yeah. So I definitely appreciate you, the taking the time out your day to do this. So I'm just gonna give you your flowers.
Well, thank you. Thank you for, wanting to hear my story, allowing me to get up here and tell it. Um you were nervous about it. Oh,
It's
that's so,
dedicated to you.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you for being strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything that I can do. Like I said, y'all hit me up on IG if you have any questions that you didn't want to ask today. Um, if you know somebody that might be going through it and you just didn't want to say it here, or you didn't want to ask me the question here, hit my DMs and IG. One thing y'all will know about me if you get to know me is I don't play these YouTube games. Like, you know, loyalty is extremely important to me, and that's one thing that y'all will learn is loyalty is extremely important to me. So if I rock with you, I rock with you. So I don't do this, putting you bit. If you have anything that I could do, any questions, hit me up on IG, and I promise it will remain between us, and I'm gonna do everything that I can to help you.
All right, guys. Well, that concludes this interview. Like I said, thank you again, for sharing your story.
Thank
But I
you.
think the video went so quick, I didn't think you had a chance to see it. So let's do it
I,
again.
let's do it again. That's cute. I like it.
All right. So salute everybody. Thank everybody for tuning in. Thank you all for the support.
Yes, thank you everybody for your support and for watching and listening to me talk. I appreciate it. I definitely appreciate it.
All right. Okay, yeah. So this is her information. You can catch her on IG. I think I pinned it. This is her IG. Remove this. So if you have any questions for Kim, this is her IG. You can hit her up.
Yep,
You can be
TikTok.
confidential.
I love to do TikToks and stories about my domestic violence to tell my story in that way. I have pictures and different things that I include, different situations that I've been through. So yeah, my story is my story, and I love to tell it.
Right. So if there's something that you want to ask and you don't feel comfortable, asking it here, like I said, you can find her on Instagram. Hit her up. Maybe y'all can have a talk. Maybe she can help you out. So, all right. Well, I'll see you later, Kim. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, thank you for having me. Thank everybody for listening.
You're welcome. So, salute everybody. I definitely appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like I said, you can hit Kim up on Instagram if it's a question that you want to ask her and they want to ask her on the chat or, depending on ask her. Hold on, we have somebody backstage. Is that you, Frederick?
Yeah, that's me, man. What's up, young man? You the best, man. I'm sorry I made it late, man. I just got back home, man. But I will watch the show, man.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you, Frederick.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mimi. Salute. I'm No Sam. Salute everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, see y'all later.